Yeah. For those of you that want to know what we're all about, it's like this, y'all. This is 10% luck, 20% skill, 15% concentrated power of will, 5% pleasure, 50% pain, and 100% reason to remember the name. He doesn't need his name.
Welcome to the Instant Cast for game number 10 of the 2017 season. This is the Bucs versus Dolphins. At least that's the game that we're talking about. This is the Instant Cast presented by the PewterCast. I will be your host tonight, Brent Allen. With me, as always, our ineffable co-host, Ren Daxt. Ren, how we doing tonight, buddy?
It was the best of times. It was the worst of times. This game is Tale of Two Halves, right?
First note that I have, Tale of Two Halves, another one of those kind of games.
Yes, that was me trying to be clever. Of course, that's the opening line of the book, Tale of Two Cities. But man, like I said, yeah, just first half, second half couldn't be different. And, Fitzpatrick came through and found a way to win for us in the end.
He was steady. He was as steady as the day is long, and we'll certainly get to talking about all of those different things that had to go into today's game. This is the Instant Cast. If you're joining us for the first time for the Instant Cast, the way the show works is it's Sunday night. The Bucs just finished playing this game just a couple of hours ago, not too terribly long, and these are kind of our initial thoughts, the raw emotions, so we've mostly not gotten to see any of the press conferences, and we've not had time to rewatch the game or watch any game film. It's just all that first stuff, just those first ideas. Along with Ren and I's thoughts on the game, we'll also be taking your all's phone calls. We have lots of people want to say hello to all of you who are joining us in the chat room at mixler.com/thepewtercast. Lots of great conversation happening over there already, talking about just talking about the last couple games, what's coming up here. So lots of fun conversation going on over there. You guys give me a thumbs up in the chat room if everything sounds good or if we need to adjust anything. But with that, guys, we will open the phone lines here in just a few minutes. I do want to take this opportunity to remind everybody this is a PG-13 show. We like people to be able to listen to this in the car with children. So just please keep that in mind if you're calling in, but we would love to take your call, take your thoughts on the whole thing. Javier is in the chat room, gives me a thumbs up on the audio, says it sounds good over there. So Ren will roll with it. You opened us up talking about this is a tale of two halves. You want to go into that a little bit more before I open up the phone lines here?
Sure. 4 turnovers. I'm blanking on who he played. Holy
Dolphins.
cow! I just woke up from a pot roast nap. Everyone.
Ren, you're not supposed to have those. At least not the pot. You're not supposed to have that food coma until Thursday. That's coming up this week, Thursday, buddy.
Hey, practice makes perfect, buddy.
There you go.
The Dolphins didn't convert a third down in the first half. The defense, like I said, had 4 turnovers. I guess the one thing that was consistent through the whole entire ball game is how both these teams continually shot themselves in the foot, mostly through timely penalties on both sides of the ball. I think I remember the Dolphins had something like 17 penalties.
For 140 some odd yards or something like that. It was not good. Not a good day.
No. So, either team could have won this game. It was really an ugly ball game. As much as people talked about how bad the Jets game was, I think this was a lot worse as far as just execution and blown assignments. What seemed to be more the Bucs' Achilles heel to penalties, which, like we said, with the Dolphins' Achilles heel. But, neither team could really run the ball. But in the passing game, there were some guys on both sides of the field that were just wide open, and it seemed to be pretty consistent. Lucky to have this, lucky to come out with the win, but we get to play the AFC East, and we're taking advantage of it.
Yes, we are. So with that, Ren, you summed up kind of all my opening thoughts. It's and we'll get into those. So with that, guys, I want to go and open up the phone lines. If you guys want to call in, we would love to take your thoughts on today's game. That number is 864-729-BUCKS. That's 864-729-2827. You guys call in. We'll take your phone call. We'll talk to you for a few minutes, and we'll clear the line. I will remind everybody, we do only have one phone line. So if you call in and somebody else is on the line, I'll just have to decline it. Call us back in a few minutes when the the phone line opens up. So with that, Ren, I kind of like to start, at the front. You start at the most important spot. So let's go over to the QB spot while we wait on our first call to come in. Let's talk about Fitzpatrick. Talk about his play, what you thought of Fitzpatrick. Again, he's our backup quarterback. He's in. Jameis Winston is injured. And, what'd you think of Fitzpatrick this week?
He didn't turn the ball over. That's as best as you can go with it. He did pretty much what he did last week. I think he was a little more accurate. He got probably a little less time when he dropped back to pass this week than he did last week. But, took what the defense gave him, found the open receivers, didn't make the dumb play, which would have been, the interception right after getting an interception like he last week against the Jets. He looked fine. You could really tell. We've talked about how he has this calming influence back there, and Jameis, it just seems to be a little more rushed or frantic, or, it seems when Jameis is a quarterback that the offense feels like it has to score, like not every drive, but almost every play. And but when things started to go south for the Buccaneers in the second half, as far as they only got the ball twice in the third quarter, and I think they ran 7 plays total in the third quarter, and the Dolphins were chipping away by getting field goals. There was no panic in Fitzpatrick. Didn't try to press the ball and make something happen and sort of make it worse than it was, but nothing stellar. I felt his accuracy was a little better, but besides that, just what you sort of expected to see from Fitzpatrick, just a solid game and just did enough to win.
Yeah, I agree with you on all of that. Even talking about his calming presence, I talked about that last week. Like being in the stadium, in the stands, you could feel there was just a different aura about Fitzpatrick and how he was controlling this team and how he was handling this team, leading this team, at least on the offensive side of the ball. And I found it real interesting. The commentators on TV actually talked about that a couple of times in tonight's game, of just how calm Fitzpatrick was. I don't know. I just found that real, I guess, validating. So,
right.
Wondering if they could also kind of feel that there in the stadium. I will say this. I thought Fitzpatrick overall looked better today than he did last week. And I don't know. I think I've kind of posited maybe in the Final Thoughts show that, here's Fitzpatrick. He hasn't really played a full game, hasn't really started a full game until last week. Right. So you always get that rust, so I don't know if maybe this is a shaking off of the rust. I just felt like he looked better. I thought his balls looked more accurate. His throwing, his passes looked more accurate. They looked a little sharper. Was he perfect? No, by no means. Like what you said, he didn't shine. There was nothing stellar about what Fitzpatrick did. But he was steady with everything that he had going on today. So, it's certainly everything you want in a backup quarterback for sure. And that quality, I think I said this last week, that quality is something that I really hope rubs off on Jameis. Now, I do think that we're missing Jameis a lot. There's a lot of, what's the word? Energy? Maybe there's I don't know. I'm looking forward to getting Jameis back. I'm looking forward to getting him healthy and having him back out there on the field. But if this is the kind of performance, at least the steadiness of the performance we're going to see from Fitzpatrick, I'm okay with it. And the other thing too is, like you look at this week compared to last week, they put more points up on the board as an offense. In the third quarter, though, they disappeared.
Yeah, still not really close to what they should have.
No, not at all. Not at all. But they did give us more. So now they're asking in the chat room, Ren, and I think this is probably a okay question. When Winston gets healthy, let's assume that he's healthy. Everybody clears him. He's feeling good. He's healed up next week. I don't think this is as much of a question. Do we go back to Winston next week, or do we stick with Fitz?
We'll go. Of course, we'll go back to Jameis.
What do you think we should do? Do you think we should do that? Now, let's answer. What do you think they should do? Should they go back to Jameis? Because we know they will.
Yeah, they should. And there's a couple of reasons for that. Well, one, let me say that I don't think there's any way in hell Jameis is going to be ready by next week.
I agree.
But the timetable that we got originally was 2 weeks, and they'll reevaluate him. And then we'll see where he is. Like I said, I don't think he's coming back. But the reason is because Fitzpatrick has peaked as a player. He's not going to play any better football than he did play against the Jets and the Dolphins. And you could say that, yes, he got 2 wins. If you're pro Fitzpatrick, well, he's undefeated. He hasn't lost a start. But these are probably the worst 2 teams they played, and that is including the Giants, and that is including the Bears. Is anybody out there going to be surprised if the Bears beats the Jets or the Dolphins? And same thing with the Giants? No, you're not going to be shocked at all. So you can make arguments as the worst 2 teams. And like I said, this is the top for the plateau for Fitzpatrick. Mm-hmm. And Jameis, it really is sky's the limit. He's still learning. Rattle off the list of why he's still young and, reading defenses and all that sort of stuff. But the more reps Jameis gets in a game, I think it's better for the Buccaneers. And just to put it, I guess the easiest way to say it is, personally, I think the Bucs can win a Super Bowl with a quarterback like Jameis Winston. Mm-hmm. I don't think the Bucs can win a Super Bowl. I don't think anybody in the league can win a Super Bowl with a quarterback like Ryan Fitzpatrick. Yeah,
and I got to tell you, I agree with you. I don't think Jameis is going to be ready to come back next week. And, I have gone on record saying, and I'm going to stand by, I don't want just Jameis cleared to go. I don't want him healthy enough to go. I want him fully recovered. I want him fully better. And if he's not, then just let him sit. Now that said, Fitzpatrick, next week we go up against the Falcons. Falcons are a very different team than what we've seen the last 2 weeks. So, it'll be interesting to see what happens next week. Yeah, to say the least. Because even under Fitz, even though we have had 2 wins here back to back, they've not been terribly high scoring wins. And
they've barely won.
And and we'll talk about this more, I think, when we start talking about the defense. Yes, the defense gave up a lot of explosive plays today. This score should have been a lot more lopsided in the Dolphins' favor, I thought, except for the fact that while the defense, yes, were giving up explosive plays, they were still, for the most part, keeping the Dolphins out of the end zone. They were that bend but not break type thing, right? Fitzpatrick and the offense, they're going to have to hang a lot more points on these other teams if they expect this win to continue. However, I'll also ride momentum. This team's got a little bit more momentum going into next week. So, we'll see what happens. But I do agree with you. I don't think there's any way that Jameis is coming back. And if he is healthy, if he's 100% ready to go, then yes, I think we go with Jameis. I think we should, and I think the team will. And I think that's the right call. So with that said, let's move on. I want to talk about the running game a little bit. Before we do that, just a quick plug. Anybody who wants to call in, that phone line, like we said, is open. We'd love to get your thoughts on the game and anything we're talking about here. That number is 864-729-BUCKS. That's 864-729-2827. Running game today, Ren. Did not run the ball as much today as we did last week, about 10 plays less or so. I haven't done all the full math, but doesn't look like we had nearly as many yards last week, which surprised me a little bit. But how'd you feel about the running game today?
It was awful. and I'm not pinning it on the running backs. This might have been, the Buccaneers' offensive line worst game as a whole, from penalties to be able to open up runs, even get, the running backs to the line of scrimmage before they had to make a move or break a tackle, obviously protecting the passer, penalties. It was a bad game for the whole unit. Everyone seemed to have their turn, except for Dot. Even though Dot did get a penalty callback, I agree with the announcer. Stink Mark Schlereth said, "Hey, that's not a hold," and I agree. But Donovan Smith continues to be adequate at best as a left tackle. Kevin Pamfield got the whole start. They quit the rotation with him and Evan Smith. And
did they? I didn't even notice that. I'll be honest. I stopped looking for when that happened because it happened so often. Like I wasn't even watching for it today. That's somewhat good to know, I guess.
Yeah. They made a decision, but he didn't exactly shine. And in his I guess starting role. Alley had 2 penalties on the same exact play. They ran the screen, got called back. He was flagged, but it was negated because Donovan Smith held. And then the next time they ran the screen, and both of them were big yardage gainers. And another block in the back by Alley. Sweezy looked terrible today.
He was on his stomach. Like every time I looked up and saw his numbers, he was on his stomach. Now, granted, he was going against Ndamukong, or however you say his name, but still.
Yep.
Oh my word.
Yeah, I think I saw Sweezy's face more than I have ever seen in a football game, and that's because he was like it was an end zone view, and he's always turning around looking at somebody that had blown by him. Staring right into the end zone camera.
Right.
Yeah, so it was not just it was a poor game for the offensive line as a unit, and a poor game for, I would say, 4 out of the 5 as individual players. I thought Doug Martin did what he could. I thought that he ran hard, and Jacquizz Rodgers a couple times he got the ball. I thought everybody ran hard. Peyton Barber was in there for a few plays, but mostly he got the ball through the pass. I think he only really got it once. Same thing with Charles Sims. He was in there a lot, especially on third down, which, we're accustomed to seeing. But I think he only got handed off the ball once. So it was pretty much Doug Martin or bust. And for what was there, I thought he did a pretty good job. But besides that, the running game, it was non-existent, and to be able to run the ball in the second half of the lead, which we did have, but like I said, the Bucs only got the ball twice in the third quarter, and they only had the ball for 7 plays, so it's really hard to sort of pound the rock and run out the clock when you only get the ball for 7 plays in the whole third quarter.
Yeah, now I could be wrong, but it seemed to me that Doug Martin, when he was getting positive yards, I think I said this last week as well. It seemed like he was getting 6, 7, 8, 9 yards. That's what it seemed like to me. But
I know what you're going to say. You're going to say when he put his head down and went for it, he get positive yards. When he danced, he wouldn't. No. Because I said that after watching the film last week. I'm saying after just watching this game, it seemed like I was watching the game and I remember going, man, I can't wait to see Doug's yards per carry at the end of this game because they're going to be stellar. They've got to be up there, four some odd yards a carry. And I did look it up. I know in the InstantCast we're not supposed to look up the stats. His yards per carry were 2. Yeah.
2. He had 38 yards in the entire game, 19 carries. I was shocked. Yeah. Because it seemed so different to me.
Go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, no, it seemed so he just seemed like he was getting much better yardage, which if he was just getting stuffed behind the line, and he was, the tape might bear that out. Maybe when he was getting positive yards, he was going for pretty good runs. It's just he was getting stuffed behind the line of scrimmage that it really pulled those numbers back, the average back. I don't know. I'll be interested to go back and see exactly what happened there, but I just, again, it's that feeling that you get when you watch the game, or at least for me, I was like, man, he's doing well when he gets through, but it just, I don't know.
And it was also really disappointing because Carolina nearly ran for 300 yards against, this same Dolphins defense, not even a week ago, 6 days ago. And I understand the NFL is a week-to-week league, and this is why they have tape and practice so they can fix these things. But teams usually don't fix things that much. It was really more about lack of execution by the offensive line today than it was the front four or front seven of the Dolphins.
Yes, I would agree. Well, let's go ahead. You already talked about the offensive line, and I guess I'll add my 2 cents in as far as they go. The note that I put down here was offensive line equals trouble in the trenches. That sounds like a good title to a show, Trouble in the Trenches. Yeah, I mean Sweezy was the one who I just thought looked really horrible. You were talking about that penalty on Dotson later in the game. I think it was either right at the end of the third quarter or maybe the beginning of the fourth quarter. They called him for a hold. It really wasn't a hold, and you could see Dotson kind of pleading his case to the referees. I believe, I might be wrong, and this is 100% total conjecture, that I think it was because of that hold that it wound up setting up for that quote unquote safety that happened there. And watching it back, it looked pretty clear to me to be a safety.
I was shocked.
Everybody thought it was safety. I was shocked
when they didn't call it a safety, and then I was shocked when they reviewed it and still didn't call it a safety.
Exactly. And I wonder if there might not have been a little give and take, the refs kind of forced them into that position, so they kind of gave it back. Again, the refs should not do that if that's the case. If that was truly a safety, they should have called it a safety, even though it was a BS holding call. However, there's a little piece of me that just wonders if that may not have been the refs kind of giving it back to them.
Right.
Just because that really was a bad call. And for whatever reason, they whatever. So just curiosity in my head. Ali Marpet, though, there was you remember earlier in the game, there was a double penalty, one on Ali for a block in the back, and then one on Donovan Smith for
a hold on a touchdown pass.
On a touchdown pass, right? Was there a third one? Was that the one? Wasn't there 3 on different people at one point?
No, that was later on a punt.
That was later. Okay.
By Miami.
So and the note I had is because Donovan's is the one that got upheld. That's the one where they accepted the penalty. People are going to forget about the alley hold. It's going to I think this might just me be trying to defend Donovan Smith. Not wanting him. I'm glad for Donovan to catch the flack when he well deserves the flack. I don't want him to catch it unnecessarily. And
right.
Don't when you look at the numbers and you look at whatever, don't forget Donovan wasn't the only one doing something that particular play. Ali Marpet, whom I'd say most of us love. So. He also certainly was not perfect. Now let's talk about Ali just for a second.
Sure.
It has been posited out there, and I want to get your take on this, Ren. It has been posited out there that with Sweezy not playing so great, we've got Joe Hawley and his infamous beard sitting on the bench, that maybe we should kick Sweezy out, move Ali back to right guard, and bring Hawley in and let him play center. After today's performance, what do you think?
No. Because the future is Ali at center. Yes, Sweezy's having a rough go of it for most of this year. But if you remember how bad it was trying to run the ball in the second half all of last year, because simply Joe Hawley isn't strong enough to hold up for 4 quarters. Remember the safety we had? Was that the Saints game? I believe last year we're on the 1 yard line and give to Doug, and Hawley just gets folded in half, and Doug runs through a brick wall for a safety.
Yeah, I remember that play. I don't remember who it was against, but it sounds like it probably was a Saints thing.
Yeah. So, you don't. It sounds good. Now, I'm all for doing something with Sweezy, not like sitting him down and trying to get rid of him because he's a bust, but. Get a little extra work somewhere, maybe sit him down for a game, or not let him dress, but maybe put in Beninock next to Alley and have Alley or Pamphile and Beninock be guards for a game. I'm not opposed to shaking it up, but moving Alley back over to guard doesn't solve anything, because Alley's the future center.
Mm-hmm.
They know it. That's what they're going to do. It doesn't matter if you like it or not. If you think it's a good idea to go out and get another center and move Alley back to guard, that's not what they're going to do.
Mm-hmm.
Alley Marpet is the center of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and will be probably for the next 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
So that's it. But once again, I agree that something needs to be done with Sweezy these past handful of weeks. At least 3, maybe more, where he's everyone makes a bad play now and then, in
Mm-hmm.
baseball. Everyone's going to boot the ball. Everyone's going to make an error. But he has really been a liability and the biggest liability on that offensive line. And it's really shown the past 3 weeks. So doing something there, I get, but it's not going to involve moving Alley Marpet.
Yeah, I 100% agree with you. To move if Alley is the center of the future or the center of the present for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, to move him right now, honestly, would probably do more damage to his future as a center than keeping him in there. But I look at it and I say, hey, listen, Coach Warhop has spent the last bunch of years cross-training all of his guys. And we've got this little left guard position that keeps having this rotational thing. Now, I know you said that earlier today they finally stopped that and it was just Pamphile. I think a couple of the guys in the chat room had said that they were actually rotating. I'm not really sure. I didn't notice. But, hey, listen, to what you said, sit Sweezy down. And, if that means we put EDS over at the right tackle spot or the right guard spot and leave Pamphile on the left side, or move Pamphile over to the right side and put Evan Smith in the left side, I don't care. But I definitely think something's got to be done. They've got to adjust something, and I don't know what they're seeing in practice that lets them continue to roll Sweezy. At some point, and I know that Sweezy was a big free agent signing last year for Jason Light. Mm-hmm. They signed him to some big long contract, but at some point, I would even think Jason Light might need to step in. And surely he and Cutter are at least having this conversation. Surely they're not just putting a blind eye to it. You and I don't know that. The Hard Knocks cameras aren't there anymore, so there's no way for us to know. But surely they're having that conversation. At some point, something's got to be done. It's just a matter of when and exactly what they're going to do. I think they have a couple options. Beninock, our draft pick from last year. What was he, 5th round or something from last year? Who by the way was inactive today, which was a little bit of a surprise. Though I think I saw you tweet this a little bit earlier, Ren, and I had said something. With Dotson and Donovan Smith both kind of being a little dinged up last week and moving into this game, to bolster that tackle position a little bit actually makes a little bit of sense. Now I know Beninock's trained across the whole thing.
I think they're playing the odds. Yeah. If Dot and Donovan Smith both went down or had to come out for a series or two because they were both nicked up, you'd move Pamphile, and then you'd have to bring in another tackle. And I just think that they felt Wester is a better pure tackle, and Beninock's a better guard who can play tackle.
Yeah. Let's take this call, see who we've got calling in. Who do we have here with us tonight? You're on the InstantCast with Brent and Ren.
It's your good old pal, Chef Aaron.
Chef, what's up, buddy?
What's up, Chef?
Not too much. How you guys doing tonight?
Doing good,
man.
I think we said this last week. It might have been an ugly win, but a win is a win, and things are always a little more rosy after a Buccaneers win.
I will say, though, this win, it was so much more uglier than last week, especially when we create 4 turnovers and the other team commits about 15, 17 different penalties for over 100 yards, and we still barely squeak by. That's just inexcusable.
I agree.
Yeah, it was bad. It seemed like the Buccaneers' offense was getting the ball,
especially with
during the first
how
half.
much talent we have on this roster. And, the run game, I mean, like Ren said, you can't blame this on the running backs. The running blocking has been so god awful. I would almost say that George Warhop needs to be fired because this is just pathetic. I don't know if we need a shuffle or bring in more talent in the offseason, but the run blocking has just been straight up abysmal this year.
Yeah.
Yeah. Eventually, Warhop, and it seems to be, everyone seems to be really down on Jay Hayes, rightfully so. And now, with the way the offensive line has played, especially the last 2 weeks, even though, ironically enough, we've won, Warhop's name is starting to peak up as a possible candidate for head being on the chopping block.
Mm-hmm. Aaron, do you hear both Ren and I? Just checking on you there, buddy. I know you were. Are you there, Aaron? Chef.
I'm here, guys.
Oh, there you go. Can you hear both Ren and I? I know you were.
Yeah, I'm good. I think I just may have lost you guys for a second.
Oh, okay, cool. Sorry, Ren. I missed the last half of what you had said there. You're talking about Coach Warhop and.
I was just agreeing with Aaron, saying that that Warhop's name is coming up more and more as something who needs to be looked at as a possible change, coach wise.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you there. It's certainly possible. I don't know, Chef, that I'm quite ready to go to the stage of fire Warhop. If they continue to put Sweezy out there with no adjustment, then I could get there with you, But I think 10 games in, we've seen enough that some sort of an adjustment has to be made. And I think what determines for this whole coaching staff, by the way, the from top to bottom, from Cutter to Hayes to Bajakian to, I don't know who's the lowest man on the totem pole in the coaching staff, but whoever that guy is, if your unit's not getting it done, like that's fine. We can see that. How are you going to fix it? How are you changing it? How, if you just keep trying to do the same thing week after week after week, expecting different results, that's the definition of crazy, right?
Well, it's not just that. It's just also like, how many weeks are they going to keep flip-flopping Smith and Pamphile out before they finally decide, okay, we need to stick with one and stay with one? I mean, the elite lines or offensive lines in this league do not keep shuffling out players when they need to develop a chemistry. It's like you need to stick with one, go with that, and if it's not that, if it's not the right one, do adjustments during the week and all that stuff. It's like it's almost like we're dealing with Lovey's Smith's version of the defense from 2 years ago. Now we're dealing with an insanity on Dirk Cutter's offensive line or whatever it is. It's just these coaches keep doing the same things over and over again on this offensive line and keep expecting a different result. It's just, it's mind-boggling.
Agreed. So
I will say this: did they on that one penalty on the O.J. Howard O.J. Howard second touchdown that should have been?
Mm-hmm.
What was the penalty exactly? Because I saw
I think that was a hold on Donovan.
The refs calling like a block in the back, but then they said it was a Donovan Smith hold, and if that was a hold, my God, these refs! I'm sorry. I want to beat the living dog, you know what, out of them right now.
Ren, that was the play you and I were talking about a few minutes ago. It was the double penalty. It was a block in the back by Alley and a hold by Donovan, right?
Yeah, that's right.
They called back a touchdown from Howard.
Mm-hmm. That's exactly what happened.
Yeah. What they did, Chef, with that was it was a double penalty. They declined the one on Alley and they took the one on Donovan. So when you look at the stat sheet, you're going to see another penalty on Donovan, with penalty yardage based off of that, and that's the one that called back a touchdown. Which, if it was legitimately a hold, fine, Donovan boo, but it wasn't. There's a lot of people that hate Donovan. It wasn't just Donovan on that play. His own thing, and I get a little more defensive of my tackles because I was.
Well, it's just like I said, that hold, that was a. I don't know about you guys, but I thought that was just. Another bogus. It's almost like these refs are picking on Donovan Smith especially when he's not doing anything wrong. It's just especially like that one last week where he just shoved the just defender aside and they called that holding. It's just it seems like these refs love to pick on Donovan, and I know I'm probably going to be biased on it, but it seems like these refs just love to pick on this team to kill any momentum they can create, just to kill drives.
Yeah, I've never been a fan to sort of jump on the, we would have won that game if it wasn't for the refs type of guy. I think lots of penalties are missed on both sides. I think lots of bad calls are missed on both sides. But I will say the last, sort of 3-4 penalties on Donovan Smith, they seem to be very ticky-tacky. Now, I think I think today was probably the most obvious that it was a penalty. It wasn't like a grab hold. It was more of a, he grabbed the guy's in his inside arm and kind of yanked him towards him to get him off balance to keep him out of there. But it wasn't a blatant, rope collar or bring the tackle the guy to the ground type of hold. It definitely could have gone uncalled, and you've seen it gone uncalled many times. So I'm not saying, that the refs are going or necessarily picking on Donovan Smith, but he has been, at least lately, been being called for these ticky-tack to even like head-scratching holding calls that, he's really seems to be getting the raw end of the stick lately.
Yeah, and
it's a nicer way to put it than I would.
Yeah, I mean, it makes you wonder, if Donovan has gotten that kind of reputation among the refs. Because I've heard them talk about that for a few years. Is the refs will get in their little meeting and they'll say, "Hey, watch this guy. He does this a lot," or watch this over here. And so they wind up watching things a little bit more. I wonder if that might actually be something that's happening with Donovan. Is he's gotten that kind of a reputation, so the refs are more keened into it. I can tell you this: on every single play of football, somebody's holding somebody somewhere along that offensive line. It's just a matter of if it's seen or if the ref is going to call it. The other thing that I wonder is are we maybe just more tuned in and hyper aware of Donovan's mistakes when are his numbers average across the league? And I don't know. I haven't compared his numbers across the league. So, Chef, I'm going to go ahead
and
go ahead.
I just wanted to say real quick that it just seems like throughout this entire game that the refs were just, for both sides of the ball too, when it comes to the Bucs and Dolphins, that the refs are just god awful to garbage to toilet type of needing to flush down the toilet type of thing. It's just these refs. I swear, it's just they need to start letting these guys just play football. I mean, yes, obviously there are some obvious things that you can see that can be called, but it's come to the point where they're almost making these guys play flag football instead of just real football.
Yeah, refs certainly seem to be a little flag happy tonight, so for sure. So with that, Chef, I'm going to go ahead and clear this line. We'll see if anybody else wants to give us a call in, but thank you so much, and hey, we're looking forward to your email for this week. All right.
Not a problem. Go Bucs.
Go Bucs, Chef.
See you, Chef.
Yeah, refs.
Sort of bouncing off what Chef said.
Sure.
It has been, I think, a year where I've seen a lot of bad calls. Not necessarily calls that shouldn't have been called, but almost called the wrong way. Like the Bobby McClain pass interference today.
Oh, yeah.
He never touched the guy.
Yeah.
He absolutely never touched the guy. The refs saw that he only went after the ball. The receiver only went after the ball with one hand and saw his other hand down by Bobby McClain and assumed that Bobby McClain was holding him. But, and you saw right after it, Bobby Mack's grabbing his collar and going, he had me by the collar and wouldn't let go. And they only showed the replay once, but that's exactly what happened. Bobby Mack never even touched it, never laid a hand on him.
Right.
let alone, interfered with him. They let some sort of hand checking, especially the deeper the ball goes, a little hand checking down the field. But yeah, he just was keeping Bobby Mack at bay, just reached out and, put his hand out there and then just happened to grab the collar and was sort of keeping him off him with that arm. But he was definitely holding him and pushing off. And, calls like that, I feel like I'm seeing a lot more this year where it's just like, what are you looking at? Than excess penalties or I don't know. I guess replay's taking a lot of that. I was thinking like, fumbles that shouldn't have been fumbles, things like that. Holds, most of the holds, I think they're doing pretty good. I think they're doing okay with the targeting. I think the targeting calls have really gone down the past few weeks. It looks like they're really target happy beginning of the year. Mm-hmm. But there has been, and it's obviously I watch the Bucs more than anyone else. There has been these head scratching calls like the Bobby Mack call, like last week's Donovan Smith penalty, this week's Dots penalty, where it's just like, I don't, like Aaron said, you got to let these guys play. It's just, you're seeing the aftermath of the situation. You're not seeing the whole play. And, for a few times, and it seems to be but it seems a lot of the times the Bucs has called for that. It's a big play. One was a pass interference call to put the ball, like on the 1 foot line. And then the dot was a first down to get out of, the shadow of our own goalpost to Cameron Brate. And both those, went against the Bucs. So I know what Shep is saying, but to go back to what I said earlier, how I don't really like to talk about that type of thing because it's a never-ending merry-go-round circle. Well, this happened, but yeah, this. We got called for this, we didn't get called for that. So normally, you just like to think that it all plays out and it's all fair in the end. It just seems to be really heavy against the Bucs right now.
Mm-hmm. Thanks for calling in to the Instant Cast Show. You're on with Brent and Ren. Who do we got here with us tonight?
Hey, what's up, Brent and Ren? This is Subject Jester calling out here from Southern California. How you guys doing?
Southern California. Say your name for me one more time.
Subject Jester.
Very fun. Hey, what's on your mind tonight, man?
The chat room keeps talking about the whole if we should start Fitz or, the whole Jameis thing. But, I got faith in Jameis Winston, but the thing is that I feel like he should just sit down and see Fitz play the ball. Because he's delivering the ball very good down the field. Doing the short passes. He's doing very good, and that's just experience because he's taking what the defense is giving him.
Mm-hmm.
But Winston just gotta, because he doesn't do that. He does those crazy passes. Gets the picks and stuff. But I'll let you guys discuss it so the line be clear up, right?
All right. Thank you so much, Subject Jester. Appreciate it, man.
All right, no problem. Bye.
Thanks for calling in, man.
Yeah, so the chat room's really been blown up a little bit. A couple people on both sides of the issue here of this Fitz versus Jameis thing. Ren, I know we already talked about it up kind of towards the top of the show, but we
have to answer his question.
Sure.
I get what he's saying.
Mm-hmm.
It's that if you play Jameis's play lends to more mistakes, which lends to more turnovers, which lends to him being the main reason you lose a game. With Fitzpatrick, like we've said, he takes what the defense is giving him, doesn't make a lot of mistakes, if any, sort of marches the team down the field. The problem is, what do you hope to get out of this season with Ryan Fitzpatrick as your starting quarterback?
Mm-hmm.
Are you saying that Jameis can't get better? The fastest way Jameis is going to get better is by playing.
Mm-hmm.
Even the most optimistic Bucs fan in their heart of hearts know that we're not going to the playoffs this year. Mm-hmm. We're not going to rattle off 7 more in a row, 6 more in a row, whatever it is, and go 10-6, or only lose 1 and go 9-7. So the only thing if Jameis can go, you should put him in there, because the only thing you're gaining as a football team with Ryan Fitzpatrick playing is really nothing. You're stunting Jameis's growth.
Mm-hmm.
Unless you fall on the side where, hey, it's time to turn the page on Jameis, and we need to get another quarterback. Maybe we should try Fitzpatrick, and he could be our guy, a bridge guy, and we go out and get one of these young guys coming out this year. If that's the way you're thinking, okay, I can understand it. I absolutely disagree 1,000%. But to me, that's the only reason you would want, if Jameis is 100% healthy, not to be in there. Jameis is the future. The quickest way for him to get better is to get, game reps. And, I think that's what we need to do.
Yes, I agree. And the other thing, to Subject Jester's point is, he's saying, hey, listen, Fitz is delivering the ball down the field a little bit better. He's getting it into the receivers. And while I agree with that on the surface, not even just the shoulder. While I agree with that on the surface, I don't know that actually bears out. Because certainly you look at
they didn't throw the ball deep once this game.
I don't know about that, but you might be right. I'm not entirely sure. But yeah, you're right. He's not throwing the ball very deep. Certainly not as often as Jameis attempts to throw it deep. But at the same time, he connects with Mike Evans 5 times for 92 yards, for a long of 29. Now I don't know what the actual catch was on that versus a run, but I don't know that Fitz is actually connecting with the receivers any better than Jameis is. And now Fitz might be connecting with different receivers better than Jameis does. Jameis and Mike seem to have this connection. Now, admittedly, Mike Evans seems to be having a down year. Even when Jameis was in there, shoulder notwithstanding, Mike Evans doesn't seem as sure-handed as he was last year. Now, that just could be this year. It could be something, weird going on. I don't know. Adam Humphries also seems to be having a down year.
Might as well not be on the team since Fitzpatrick has started quarterback. I think he's got 3 targets, and 2 of them were today. He got 1 target last week versus the Jets, and he got 2 today.
Yeah.
1 he dropped, and 1 was overthrown.
But truth be told, Ren, I don't know how much Adam got targeted with Jameis when Jameis was playing in the first 8 games.
When Jameis' shoulder was okay, and we weren't down by 1,000,000 points, Adam he'd get 6-7 targets a game.
Okay,
he would,
fair enough.
Because he was one of the guys Jameis would look to when it would break down. He would start to move out of the pocket.
One of his check down guys.
Yeah, one of his guys where he would trust and he knew exactly where he was, and if you threw to him, he'd catch the ball. Today it was pretty much Mike Evans or nobody. We got O.J. Howard started early, but that sort of went away. And then when the offense, really sort of started to hum a little bit in that second quarter, it was mostly off the screen game. Mm-hmm. And they were doing really well. Unfortunately, they kept getting called back. Doug Martin had a great screen gain, had a great gain. That was Ali Marpet's second block in the back. Of course, we talked about O.J. Howard. Donovan Smith had a holding on that one. So after that, I think Deshaun Jackson had 2 catches maybe? Humphries had none. Brate had 1. And the rest went to Evans, and the rest were screens. I mean, It was like you said, he's finding different receivers. And, Godwin had 2, probably came in second. No, probably third in yardage because of O.J. Howard. It was probably third in yardage, and he only got 2, and they both came with under a minute to play.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, I don't know. It just I question as to how much better Fitz is actually connecting on the balls than Jameis was. And here's the thing, and I believe this, and so much of football is what you see about the people and where they could go. If we can take Jameis's arm and what he brings to this team and calm it down a little bit and let him be more in control, I think that's why Jameis overthrows receivers sometimes. I think that's why is because he gets too erratic, And the calming down, I think, is a maturity issue. I think a lot of that comes with playing time. Back to your first point about this whole thing, Ren, is, for Jameis's development, if he is the long-term answer here in Tampa Bay, which right now that's the plan, that could change. He's still in his rookie contract, but that is absolutely the plan. And the best way to mature him and get him down along the path, so to speak, is to get him playing time, especially, and I think that's especially true in a year like right now, where, as you say, the playoffs really are out of question. Now I know the team still believes it, and mathematically it's still possible. This becomes a year at this point about getting your guys in the best position to set them up for next year, so that we really can make that run. Because we've got Djax for another year. We've got, we've got all our guys. We're going to re-sign Mike Evans this offseason. We've got Godwin, who's going to be coming back now. We'll talk about this after the season wraps, but we've got Cameron Brate coming up for free agent. We've got Adam Humphries coming up on free agent. There are going to be some people we lose. Charles Sims, I think, is also, his contract is up at the end of this year. What do we do with Doug Martin in the offseason? There are certainly those questions that will have to be answered, but getting Jameis back in. But I will go back to this. I know Javier will give me a big amen. However you say that in Spanish, Javier, I don't know. Is Jameis only needs to come back when he's 100% healthy. I don't want to see him before then. So
yeah.
With that, Ren, I think we kind of also, by that conversation, just really had a conversation about the receivers. Was there anything else you want to talk about the receivers before we flip over to the defense for this game?
It was good to see Mike Evans back out there.
Yeah.
There was a couple of balls where you thought like maybe he dropped, but then the replay was actually a good play by the defender.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I thought Mike looked great out there. He didn't get a lot of yak, but it was just good to see, the tall guy running around back there.
All right, let's see who we got here. You are on with Brent and Ren for the InstantCast. Who are we talking to tonight?
Oh, boy, I heard you mentioning my name, and I had to call in, man.
Javier, what's going on,
What's
my
up,
friend?
buddy?
Great. How are you guys? Boy, this was a stressful game. I think I ate plenty of food throughout the game, and at the end, I still think I lost some weight because of all the stress. Boy, I'm so glad we got to finally get a win on the road so we can wash the losing streak on the road. So right now, the only numbers that matter to me are we are 2-0 in the second half of the season. We're winning with Fitzpatrick. We're winning with our backup quarterback, BACKUP backup. Once Jameis is healthy, he's going to be our starting quarterback, but only if he's 100% healthy. And that's all I have to say about that.
Javier, how do you say amen in Spanish?
The same. Amen.
All right, there you go. Amen. I like it.
Man, I'm so glad we got to face Jay Cutler. To me, he was the MVP of the game because not only did he complete 25% of his passes to our defensive players, but you can tell Jay Cutler sucks the energy out of his team. Look at what Matt Moore was able to do in the second half. Granted, we were playing a little bit off, but you can tell he injected some energy into that team. And it wasn't a perfect game. You've called on the offensive line, especially against Sweezy. But there seems to be something throughout the season that the offensive, like our offense, when we get near the other teams' end zone, we kind of stumble every single time. 17 points of 4 turnovers, that's unacceptable. We were having short fields. And we need to figure that out because next week we got a tough matchup against Atlanta. I really want this team to win. That's the only thing that really matters to me right now. So I don't know what else have we missed. Patrick Murray has been like a godsend. Yeah. When was the last time we had an 80% success field goal rate? And we didn't have sacks, but I think we generated some pressure this game. I might be mistaken.
Gerald got a sack. I know that. He added to his. I think
Oh,
he
yeah, we
might have
got a
been the
sack.
only
Yeah, that's
one.
right. But
Yeah.
Gerald was actually, I mean, he made a lot of plays. I mean, I think, to me, this was one of his best games this season. I mean, the poor guard was having trouble with him throughout the game.
Well, they poked him in the eyeball and he got pissed.
That's right.
You know? Yeah, this defense, Javier, and I think that might transition us a little bit here. This defense was not as dominant in this game as they were
but
in
Brent,
the last game. But
let's look at throughout the season. I mean, what have we done on the road with this defense? I mean, we were averaging more than 30 points per game. So 20 points on the road, that's a 33% decrease. I'll take it. I mean, it's some progress. We gave plenty of yards. I don't know the total amount. I think it was over 400. But it was basically when it came time to show up with like crucial third downs and the fourth down, we stopped. Lavonte David keeps playing at a very high level. I'm so glad he's back healthy. Quan was also playing extremely well with his tackles, and that's what we need from this team.
Yeah, I'll tell you, Lavonte David, man, the play for him that sticks out to me in my mind happened way up at the beginning of the game. Second, third play, I think it was definitely in the first defensive drive or defensive series. Lavante's down there. It was that first like explosive play that Jay Cutler had went for, that the Dolphins went for. Lavonte was way up towards the line. He gets shanked. I think he actually slipped. I think he was on the ground, and they tossed the ball, I think, to Landry, and it's Landry and T.J. Ward, or maybe Stills and T.J. I don't know, one of those Dolphins guys and T.J. Ward, and T.J. Ward's up there like dancing with him, you know. And here comes Lavonte flying from the line of scrimmage to take this guy out. You know, now talk about athleticism. That was just a great play, good heads-up play by Lavonte to get to the damn ball. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's right. I mean, we gave I'm not saying like the defense played perfectly, because we gave plenty of explosive plays. I mean, the big run, the big pass. Kenny Stills, I hate that dude's name. But at the end of the day, 20 points, it's a progress. So let's hope it continues to progress to next week. Mm-hmm. Because we really need to win in this division. I don't like that 0-2 record in this division. And as of right now, the only thing I care about, I don't care about anything other else. No draft, no former head coach, no public service application, none of that. I just care about wins. That's all I care. And Ren, I haven't heard you talk, but I took a quick look at the fantasy league record, and it's not looking well for you this week. I'm sorry to say that.
I believe Javier and I are head-to-head, and I think all my players have played. And if you look at my bench, I have 3 players that went over 20 points. I put the wrong guys in this week. No. So congratulations, Latin lover.
Yeah, but hey, but let's just do this. Hey, Javier, who'd you go up against last week, and how'd that turn out for you?
Somebody called Brent and the Florida PewterCasters, and I conceded the win before 7 p.m. on Sunday.
He did, before the InstantCast even went live. Got a message.
Yeah.
Man.
So you win some and you lose some, but hey, it's all fun, and the Bucs won, and it was hard to watch, but it's still a win, and it counts as a win.
Yeah, win is a win is a win, no matter how ugly she is, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right. So, guys, I'll hang up and I'll continue to listen, and great show, by the way.
Thanks, Javier. We'll talk to you later. All right, buddy?
Thanks, buddy. Bye. And thank you for pointing that out on a live broadcast about my fantasy team. Who had lost. He brought up a couple of good points. One, we haven't got to. I think we started on a sour note. We went with Fitzpatrick, and then we got to the offensive line, and we're being fair, but we haven't gotten to
the good part of the thing.
Yeah, the good part, which of course is Patrick Murray. How did you feel him going out there for that game-winning kick? Like, were you worried? Were you 50-50? Were you like, if he makes this, I will be worried from now on? Like, where were you mentally when he was trotting out there for the game winner?
I wasn't worried at all. There was no butts being puckered. I was not sitting on the edge of my seat. I was just like, oh yeah, he's got this. Oh, we've got. It was not because before that, if you back up a couple of plays, the offense had to move the ball into position. Right. Mm-hmm. And it was not a, hey man, let's get it down there and let's maybe see if we can't go for this touchdown, and then maybe we'll see if we can do a field goal. No. At that point in the game, it was get it down far enough to kick the field goal and we win the game.
Right.
Like that's all I was looking for at that point was the field goal. That's all I needed. And I was so thankful that this game didn't come down to the missed field goal that he had earlier in the game. And I bring that up to say, yeah, he missed a field goal earlier in the game. There is no kicker in the NFL who goes for 100%. But I wasn't sweating. I didn't feel any qualms about anything, having him trot out there. And I believe, and I've not seen it yet, but I've heard that Patrick Murray actually got the game ball in the locker room after the game.
He did.
And he should have. Because, oh my gosh, kicker woes.
Because there was no one else to give him to.
Yeah, now, and I'll say this: I'm not ready to sit back and crown Patrick Murray the kicker for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers for the next 15 years. Maybe he will be. I hope he is, because I don't want to have to keep worrying about this damn position. I truly hope that it is Patrick Murray for the next 15 years, and we don't have to worry about this till my son is doing this podcast. But if it's not, I'm not ready to fully go there with him yet. But for right now, I'm a Patrick Murray guy. # I'm a Pat Murray guy.
Right. Yeah. And he also, going back to Javier, what else he brought up was, the Bucs, they gave up a lot of yards, lots of explosives. I think there was like 4 or 5 plays over 40 yards that the Dolphins did, but at the end of the day, they only gave up 20 points. And if your defense only gives up 20 points, especially on the road, you should win every game. At least go 12-4. If the most points your defense gives up every Sunday is 20, you should go at the very least 12-4. And bend don't break kept him out of the end zone, mostly due to the first half and the 4 turnovers. But hey, that's them the breaks.
Yep. Let's see who we got calling in here. You are on. You're on with Brent and Ren for the InstantCast. Who do we got here tonight?
Hello, guys. This is Brian from Memphis.
Brian, what's going on, buddy?
Man, what's going on, man?
Man, we doing
Hanging
just
cool.
talking about this game.
Yeah, of course. Now, I'm in better spirits because we actually winning. We're doing good. We're doing pretty good. I want to start off okay, man. Of course, y'all know who I am. How I've been feeling. I called in. My first time I called in was the Panthers game. And just to pick off, I am a Pat Murray fan. I'm Pat Murray all the way to the end because at the same time, he is giving us consistent points. He missed one today, but he made them when it mattered. But at the same time, I do want to revert back. Like you said, we don't want to make the whole show about the quarterback issue, but I do feel very strongly about it because it started with their position. And my thing is, I've been saying this at the Panther game, hey, we should give him a chance, give Fitz a chance over and over again. And slowly but surely, it's been coming to this point. And to reiterate back to the email I sent to the PewterCast for the Saints game, I was actually driving back from New Orleans back home, and I emailed you all on the road. It wasn't I was praying I just really wanted Jameis to get hurt. I was just hey man, what would it take for James to come out the field? 'Cause I knew he was playing hurt. I knew he wasn't 100%. I'm just one good sack, one good knockdown to take him out. But at the same time, it really took to him to really just play to the point where he really wasn't doing good or anything like that. And I was just damn, somebody knock him out so we get fixed in. That's really what I wanted to do because what I want to say is I'm not a guy that thinks Fitz is going to be the quarterback to take us to the promised land. But at this point in time, I think Fitz is the better quarterback for this team right now. The weapons we have right now, we are built to win. We are built to compete right now. And I feel like Jameis is not the quarterback that has the tools or the awareness to get us to this point right now. It's nothing wrong with Jameis. Jameis probably a great quarterback 5-6 years down the line, but we talking about winning right now and what we've been dealing with and what we on a 5-game losing streak. You know, like you have to look back and go, okay, who can come in and change the tempo? Who can come in and change the culture? I think the offense plays better with Fitz in there because everybody really have the opportunity to give the ball. Fitz spread the ball around. It's O.J. Howard birthday today. He could have had 2 touchdowns if they not hold on one play and got it called back. My thing is, look, don't get it twisted. Fitzpatrick is not Tom Brady. He's not Aaron Rodgers. Mm-hmm. He's not Matt Stafford. He's not Drew Brees. But he damn sure ain't Jameis Winston. My thing is, Jameis Winston, he's a great quarterback, but he's still young. He still needs to learn. He never came in a situation where he was able to learn from someone. He came in and was like, you're the guy, go out here and make it happen. And we dealing with the growing pains of him. But right now, with the offense we have, the team we have on both sides of the field, we should be competing. Like, we should be giving the Saints a run for the money. We should be 8-2, at least 7-3. Mm-hmm. I'm not saying every loss we had was based on the quarterback play, but those first half starts, slow starts, we can blame it on quarterback. We can blame it on play calling. We can blame it on just the defense. We can blame it on a lot of things, but my thing is it all starts with the quarterback. Because the quarterback coming in and doing his job, everything reciprocates. They talk about complementary football with hell. If we know the offense not doing anything and it's starting with the quarterback, you can't really expect the defense to keep bailing us out all the time. And that was my whole argument. I don't want to make the show all about Fitz. I just feel like, hey, Fitz is giving us the best chance to win. That's great. Let's keep going with him. If Jameis get healthy, then that's a conversation to be had. I don't want to go into the Uber situation and everything. I'm just a Bucs fan that want the best 12 players on the field. If it's 11 players, 12 players, I just want the best players on the field, regardless of their name on the jersey. MVP, go to Levante David. I love the play he did. Because if it wasn't for T.J. Ward, because T.J. Ward would have never tackled him in that game if it wasn't for Levante David running all the way up to tackle him. It's right. The InstantCast. It's raw feelings. I just pulled some chicken off the grill. I'm feeling good. I'm celebrating. I do want to call in. Chef is all good. Javier is all good. We going back and forth in the chat room. But that's just my thing. I just look at Jameis' resume as a quarterback for the Bucs, and I compare that to what's he doing in his 3rd year, and I don't really see anything that I should be like, okay, he's still our franchise quarterback. The topic the debate must get talked about. Like, what is this guy? Do we want the same 3 years? We say he been our quarterback for 3 years. Are you looking to have the same thing for another 3 years? Or do we start looking at who can come in and really lead this offense? And I think Fitzpatrick is doing a better job in 2 games. It's a small sample size, but in these 2 games, I've seen a very, very different outfit besides Jameis. It's not that, these guys coming in, they feel like they got to score 10 points on every drive. It's not this, this real jittery offense. Even when they got the ball back and we had the ball with 3 minutes left, I'm like, it's going to be good. Fitz going to lead us back down. What is a touchdown or field goal? We good. Even though Murray missed the last field goal, I really felt like it was a very calm feeling. Fitz got it. He got it. And that's what it was. Like, I'm not saying everybody jump off the Jameis Winston boat, but at the same time, I want whoever going to come on the field and give us the best chance to win. I'm not playing favorites. I just want the best guys on the field to win. That's it, Brent and Ren. That's it.
We'll do it.
I hear you. And you bring up a really good question. Honestly, if you took this team today and Jameis Winston was, let's say he didn't get hurt, but, let's say, what was the last game before he got hurt? What was after Buffalo? I'm sorry. Saints game.
Yeah.
Okay, say we're going into the Saints game, and you know what you know now with Fitzpatrick, and you go, which quarterback gives us the best chance to win? Just one game. You can make an argument that Ryan Fitzpatrick, because of experience, his poise, be able to take what the defense gives them, that he runs the offense more efficient. And if you only were going to try for one win, you can make a really good argument that Ryan Fitzpatrick should be the guy that starts. Now, having said that, there's no reason for Ryan Patrick to start if Jameis Winston is You're thinking in 1-game increments, and I get it, and you're right. It's a really interesting topic, the way you brought it towards us. But Jameis is a guy who's a future. You know that. I know that. The way he gets better is by getting reps in games. But if you just want to win the next game, you can make a really good argument that Fitzpatrick is the guy that should be starting.
Yeah, and I think we could go back and Jameis went 2-2 before the injury, and 0-4 after the injury. Can we blame all 4 losses on the injury? Not solely, but I definitely think they had a big part to do with it. And you remember Jameis seemed to be getting more and more and more erratic. And his passes were just never seemed to be getting better for those, especially that 4-game stretch.
After the Buffalo game, you could really tell that his shoulder was hindering his ability to push the ball down the field.
Exactly.
The Panthers and the Saints game, you could really tell that. The Panthers game you could have blamed on the wind. That was sort of like.
Yeah, because it was windy. I remember that. Yeah.
That was the built-in excuse for that one.
Yeah.
But the Saints game, man, he was having trouble pushing down the field. And once he got, hit and driven down on that shoulder, it was apparent to everybody that it was over for him. He got in for 2 more plays and threw 1 more pass, but everybody knew that okay, that's it.
Right.
It's finally broken now.
And that's where I'll agree with you. If you're looking to win the next game, which there's a big argument to be made for that. Right now, we have all gone on record saying, at least on this show, stay with Fitz as long as, don't bring Jameis back too early. Stay with him and ride him regardless of what's going on this season. But when Jameis is finally fully healthy, I definitely want to see him back. I don't know that the offense is playing that much better with Fitzpatrick. I just think the defense has really stepped up in these last 2 games and helped out with that. That being said,
played the Jets and the Dolphins, which helps.
Exactly. Now that being said, Ren, we are kind of towards the end of our show here. I know, the hour just goes by real fast here on the InstantCast, doesn't it? Lots of great conversation, by the way, happening in the chat room. I know we've said this the last couple of weeks. If you're listening to this on the podcast feed, thank you. The vast majority of you guys are listening to this, but we definitely want to encourage you guys to join us for the live show Sunday nights, 9 or 10 o'clock, depending on home or away and other situations. But we're in that time zone. Check us out. Join us in the chat room because lots of great conversation is happening over in the chat room. If you're not there for that, it's definitely a good thing to be able to watch. So with that, Ren, I'll kind of go ahead and throw it over to you just sort of let's round this out. I know we didn't get to talk about the defense a ton, but we definitely have our final thoughts show coming up that we can dive into that a little bit more. But I'll throw this over to you just kind of as we look to wrap this up.
Well, I thought the run defense was excellent. Besides the second play of the game, which we talked about, was the one where TJ Ward was sort of just playing like defense in soccer. You're not getting by me. I'm not tackling you. You're just not going to get by me. And Levante came, running down the field and made the tackle. Yeah. Besides that run, I thought it was outstanding. The Dolphins rarely got past the line of scrimmage, and a 2-yard
before you get too far, I want to go back to that play that you're just talking about, the one with TJ Ward and Levante. I know TJ Ward is kind of getting beat up by some Buck fans for that particular play. But I just want to point out,
I thought he played it great.
Yeah, I was going to say, I just want to point out, if TJ Ward was not there, he would not have held that guy up long enough for Levante to come up and get him. TJ Ward was certainly instrumental in shutting down that run because if TJ Ward had leaped after him and missed him or whatever, that guy would have taken it to the house. And this would be a very different podcast right now. So I just wanted that particular play. That was actually a special note that I had, and somebody tweeted me about that earlier. I want to make sure we got that in.
The only thing that TJ Ward did wrong on that play was not make the tackle. But he held him up long enough for Levante to get there to make the tackle. He just kept pinching him towards the sideline. He was using his body as an angle. He was taking away the guy's cutback lane the whole time while he was closing in on him and using the sidelines as another defender. And then when they finally came to a head, he missed the tackle, but since he had slowed him up so much, because if a running back can't fake out a safety with as much open field as you possibly need, then you shouldn't be a running back in the NFL. I mean, he if he could have, like you said, came firing in, torpedoes away and came in like a missile, the guy would have just made a miss and would have been a touchdown. So I thought he played it really well. When it gets to be that sort of far down the field and you're the only one, you're not really caring about how many more yards he gets. You're just, do not score. And it worked. So, but I thought the defensive, for 2 weeks in a row, the run, I think the Buccaneers stuffed the run game a lot. Javier mentioned about Gerald McCoy. I thought he had another very good game. He seemed to disappear there for a few weeks, mostly the Carolina Saints game. He seemed that you couldn't really see him. And he had a better game last week and had a very good game this week. Levante David we've talked about. It seems to be, I think the formula for winning now is the offense just doing enough to win, and the defense plays really well till they give up a late touchdown over their heads to make it close, but we squeak out a victory. That seems to be the it's 2 weeks in a row. Just do it again. Of course, I'm kidding. A win's a win's a win. It's on the road. Thank you, Jay Cutler. Like Javier said, he's the MVP, especially the first half. And, hey, Bucs win, still alive.
Yeah, I agree. And here's the thing. If that happens to come true, which I don't think it will, the formula, as you just put it out there, I'll take it every single week, but it'll be a whole lot of ugly football. But, if it gets us the win after the win after the win, I hope we're wrong. I hope we're wrong about the Bucs not making it to the playoffs. I don't think we are, but I hope we're wrong. But the defense, you started off this show last week with the 3 words, defense, defense, defense. And we started off this show saying it's a tale of two halves. But still it was the defense defined bend but don't break this week. They, for as many explosive plays, have I said this yet this show? I might have. And for as many explosive plays as the Dolphins got off on the Buccaneers this week, which there was a lot. I need somebody to go count. However you want to define it, plus 15, plus 17, plus 20 yards, whatever it is, define it. And go back to the game and count how many explosive plays the Dolphins got out of this game. They should have hung 40 points on us just based off that fact alone. But they didn't. The defense still stopped them. And, yay. Kudos to them. Justin Evans, listen, despite giving up that tying play there at the end, I think it's looking like he's turning into one of our best safeties on this team.
Not much competition, but okay.
Fair enough. I mean, we've got Chris, don't give me a seat on the bus, Conti, and we've got TJ, Mr. Pro Bowl Ward.
Was Pro Bowl.
Former Pro Bowl. But we got Justin Evans, and he's looking really good. Boy, I'm glad that I was wrong about Smith being moved over to nickel. And they left him out at left cornerback. I like him in that spot. He had a up and down game, but he's definitely, you can see strides being made week in and week out. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Exactly. So, Bobby McClain, welcome back. Thought he had a pretty good game in the nickel. Man, would have loved to see VH3 in there a little bit just because I'm pulling for him, But in the end, we won. And that is the thing that really matters. And as you say, Bucs have a kicker. So, yeah. And hey, by the way, we got an extra 7 points tacked on to the end of the game for no reason at all. So, right. You gotta love that as well. So, all right, Ren. Well, with that, why don't we go ahead and close out the show? Let the folks know out there, guys. Hey, listen, we have 2 more shows. We have 3 shows a week that come out. There's the InstantCast is one. Later in the week, we'll be coming out with our final thoughts episode. That'll give us a chance to simmer on the game a little bit, think about it. Hopefully we'll get to watch some game film and go a little bit deeper into the game as well. That's where we'll also be taking your emails. If you didn't get to call in tonight, or even if you did and you want to send in an email with your thoughts on the game, please do that to the PewterCast@gmail.com. We will read those on the show, as well as iTunes reviews. Go over to iTunes, leave us a review, shoot us a comment on Twitter, Facebook, something like that. We'll definitely make sure we tackle that in our Final Thoughts episode. And then coming out Saturday morning, we will have Buck in the News, which will be the show where we'll take a look at all of the news coming out of One Buck Place over the course of the entire week. We'll tackle it all in one spot, as well as look at transactions and injury reports and things like that as we head into the Falcons game. We got the Falcons next week. Is that right? Is it Falcons?
Mm-hmm.
Yep, Falcons at Atlanta.
Yep.
So this will be game 2 of a 3-game road stretch out on the road. So you guys, it's going to be a good one. So make sure you stick with us. Ren, as we're signing off here, why don't you tell the fine folks out there where they can find you on the internets?
Easiest way to find me and the easiest way to interact with me if you feel like you want to, or I had some other clever phrase that I messed up, is on Twitter. You can find me at RenDax, REN_DAXT. I'm always down to talk Buccaneers football.
And if you want to find me personally, I am at Brent Allen Live on Twitter and Facebook. And you can always find the show on Twitter at the PewterCast or Facebook.com/the PewterCast. We do make sure that we respond to all comments and all forms of communication, so hit us up over there. We'd love to have conversations with you, particularly about the Bucs. And you can always shoot us an email, as we said earlier, to thepewtercast@gmail.com. We would love to hear from you. Well, Ren, that's going to do it for the show. I want to say thank you to everyone who joined us at mixler.com/thepewtercast. Lots of fun conversation happening over in the chat room tonight. Thank you to everybody who called in tonight. You guys are awesome. So until Wednesday morning, we'll close this out as we always do, Ren, saying go Bucs.